Smarami Hridhi Sangaspurat Atmatattang Satchit Sukham Paramahansaguting Turiyam Jat Sapno Jagara Shushuptam Abaiti Nityam Tad Brahma Nishkalam Aham na cha bhuta sangha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. At dawn, I meditate in my heart on the self-effulgent Atman, the absolute existence, knowledge and bliss, the goal of the great ascetics, the transcendental reality ever beyond the states of waking, dream and deep sleep. I am that indivisible Brahman and not a combination of material elements. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto us all. So today our topic is stillness and silence, silence and stillness. It's a big question in our life because we are in the midst of so much of disturbance, so much of noise and pollution, and we want to be still. Stillness is our very nature, and silence only can give that which is our real nature to understand and apprehend. Sri Ramakrishna talks about going to solitude. He says always, Sri Ramakrishna in the Gospel said, they must practice spiritual discipline, meaning all of us, in solitude for some days. Thus they will acquire knowledge and devotion. You must be alone, and while thus practicing disciplines in solitude, you should think, I have no one else in the world. God is my all. You must pray to Him with tears in your eyes for knowledge and devotion. How long? Even one day, for 12 days, a month, or 3 months, or a year, according to one's convenience and ability. Through spiritual discipline practiced in solitude, churn the butter of knowledge and devotion from milk of the mind. Then the butter can easily be kept in the water of the world. Sri Ramakrishna gave us a great call in the whole of Gospel. We find that goal of God realization can be achieved by sadhu sangha, holy company, and living in solitude. That means going to solitude and silence. Then we can understand our heartbeat. Then we can see what we expect, what we want. In the hustle and bustle of life, when we are deeply engrossed into the outside things, there is no opportunity to look at our own inner self. Actually, the Upanishadic sages and saints of all religion, they all are peaceful people. They radiate their peace inside, outside. It says true silence. That true silence is a state of consciousness which man can attain through the control of his own mind and speech. Once one attains that, that person carries with him or her an atmosphere of silence, and that blessing, it surrounds him, even in the middle of multitude of people. So this is very important, how this big issue of our being still and live a life of silence in the middle of so much of noise and turmoil, that is called spiritual practice. And Sri Ramakrishna said that every spiritual seeker should find some time to go in solitude. And going there, practicing the spiritual discipline, will acquire knowledge and devotion. And that time, what type of mindset is necessary? Sri Ramakrishna says, you must not allow anybody of your own friends and relatives near you. Rather you think that I have no one else in the world. God is my all. What a beautiful spirit Sri Ramakrishna has given, that it is when we think that I am in solitude. Here it is difficult with the huge disturbance, external disturbance. But we go to the solitude, then we think of our all connections in what we have left behind. So here Sri Ramakrishna says to think that O Lord, I have none but you, and my alone, you are my only one. You must pray to him with tears in your eyes for knowledge and devotion. So silence or going to a solitude will not solve the problem also, because we have our attachments. And when we go to solitude, our attachment of the mind draws our attention there. Being in the solitude, we make another world of our own. Many monastics we find, many monks and wandering monks, they go to different places of solitude. But solitude is external, silence may be there. But then we go into the internal silence, internal disturbance. So the point is that calmness, stillness and silence, all if it is really genuine, then it brings us close to our real self that we call God. First we are to practice outer silence and then try to focus on our inner silence. Being distracted in our day-to-day life, we actually lose touch with our inner silence and peace. And that means with our real self. As we know, from morning until night, we are distracted with so many responsibilities, duties, or even unwanted distractions. And we find ourselves so much busy, there is less scope of ours to look what is going on. But if we look at the nature, when in the utmost disturbance or utmost busy, mind is so much full of anxieties, worries and whatever is going on, if we just look into the sky, look at how calm is the sky, look at the trees, look at the mountains, look at the nature, flowers, fruits, everything is keeping its own serenity and calmness and tranquility. But we are so busy, we have no time to watch that. But it can be practiced that in the daily humdrums of life, when we are so busy, just to pause for a moment and to just look at the nature, this helps us. We may be very disturbed, but look at the nature, it is silent. It is its own grandeur. Looking at anything of the nature, that can help us. So the external stillness may not be there. External stillness, if it is possible, that's a good idea. Then you have to fight with the internal disturbance, and that will be another struggle. But we'll have to go step by step. So here, being distracted, always we lose the touch which is our inner, what is here, inner silence, inner peace, inner tranquility, and inner joy. And that is called God, that is called our Atman, that is called our self. When we lose our touch with Atman and self, we lose ourselves, naturally. When we lose touch here, as we are, naturally we are lost. And we are lost where? We lose ourselves in the world. And in this duality, in its multiplicity, in its sorrows, in its sufferings, in its pains, a bit of joy, and so much of afterwards suffering, pain. This is actually, we get engrossed into that. So losing touch with the silence, we lose so much. If we once for a moment get acquainted into our inner silence, then this life will be much joyful, enjoyable. But we may think that how it is possible, but actually stillness or calmness or serenity is the very nature of ours. Rather, we have allowed our mind to be involved into the world and totally get lost. Involvement is not wrong, but being lost is the problem. We live in life. Anyone living in the life cannot say that I will not be involved in my eating, in my office, in my job, in my friends, in my duties. No, involvement may be there. But in the midst of the involvement, there must be a practice where we can just be silent within and detach. That is the detachment. So, to look at the silence outside first, there is silence. And you see, everyone enjoys when they are in very silent mood. Suppose you are sitting on the beach alone. You see the rumblings of the waves. You can see the people are at a distance. But you just feel yourself. How calm, how that is enjoyable, how peaceful is that. You are in the mountain top. Suppose you go to Mayavati. You need not have to do meditation or feel anything. Just you sit there. Look at the beautiful snow-capped mountain tops. Just sit there. That is silence, because there is a connection of that external silence and our inner silence. Anyone suddenly coming from a distracted situation enters into a temple, in a church. They say, wow, what a peace. Peace is there. Silence is there. We have to touch that silence. We have to touch that silence means we go back to our own self. So stillness is the inner space or awareness of our mental state where there is no thought web or vritti according to Patanjali. There is a spot in between thoughts, in between our seeing, in between our action, in between our all sensory experiences. So particularly in the thought. One thought rises, another thought comes up. There is a point of silence in between two thoughts. And that is the point. Every day we are crossing that thought level without being aware of it. So it is an awareness between one thought and the other thought, that chitta vritti. There is a space between that one thought and the next thought, which we are not aware because while running in the stream of thoughts, when they are expressing themselves in words, and then to the sensory activities of the actions and reactions and perceptions, etc. So it is internal peace is there, external peace is there. But we are not connecting. And therefore we are not feeling that silence, that stillness, which can give us joy and bliss absolute. So yoga, that's Yoga Sutras, Chitta Vritti Nirodha, when it is said that the ripple of the mind, thought waves. It says we are disturbed because every moment all the sensory organs are bombarding with their informations into my mind. And when my mind is getting those bombardment of the thoughts and waves, I am busy, I am full of anxiety, I am full of worries, I am full of pain and suffering because of these external ripples of the mind. But in every thought, between each thought, there is a point when it crosses the axis line. Wave, one thought, one thought, one thought. It is touching the ground every moment. Between one thought that goes away, another thought comes up. There is a point. That is the point of silence. And that we have to catch. How we can catch? If we get engrossed in the wave, the external sensory information, what is coming, and I am very much busy with those informations and identified totally there. There is no point of separation from that level of silence. So that's why the waves of thoughts in the chitta, they are called the whirlpools. And that thought is a force from the infinite storehouse of force in nature. The instrument called the chitta takes the hold of some and absorbs it and sends it out as thought. That is Swami Vivekananda's explanation. And that's why when we cannot touch that ground of silence, naturally we get, second verse says, Vritti Sharupam. We get identified with the vrittis, with the thoughts, with the waves. And I and that thought, I and that emotion get identified so much that we forget that we have a separate identity of peace and silence within ourselves. So this is the point that the world is always giving us enormous opportunity to be silent, even in the midst of our all excitements and involvements. But if we have the moments, we train our mind to look at the nature, little detached from the involvements. It gives a touch of joy. It gives the touch of bliss, which is spread. Madhu vata ritayate. Upanishadic says, looking at the world, they see this all honey, all sweetness, all joy. And how that joy and bliss they can feel, and I cannot. Here is my problem, that I am not interested in that madhu. I am not interested in that honey. I am not interested in that silence. I am interested in the jumping and howling of the mind, which it is catching from the external objects of the senses. So it is a training ground, and we can really, by giving that training, we can train our mind to be attentive. We need to pay attention and be aware of any silence around us. Just paying attention to the external silence, that will awaken the dimension of our stillness within. External silence immediately impacts as I used to feel when I was a young man going to Belur Math. We are going from outside, and just we cross the gate, big gate of Belur Math. You just enter into it. You feel peace. What do you feel peace? Because there is the less distracted thoughts which was just beyond the gate outside. So this is the point. There is peace even in the distracted area. But if we cannot, that's why Ramakrishna suggested that you cannot do that, at least find some time to be secluded. You and your Lord, you feel that you are separate and you are not entangled with these objects, what you are seeing only. So make a little separation. That's why you go to holy pilgrimage, holy places of temples and churches. As soon as we enter, we can feel a touch of that joy, because that is there, palpable. And everywhere it is. When we get trained, we can train our mind, then we can feel that touch even everywhere. That's why we need to pay attention and to be aware of the silence which is around us. In our every moment, this is a beautiful practice. If we stand in the Manhattan, or you go into the downtown of Los Angeles, or we go to the Hollywood few steps down, there are so many things going on. But there are so many things silent. We can be aware of what is non-moving, what is non-distracting. That can bring the silence there itself. But it is a practice for those who are bound to stay there. One should not move themselves into that situation at the beginning stage. Mature people can find peace everywhere. Ramakrishna, he is going to anywhere. He is going to see the zoo and saw a tiger and going to samadhi. See? Touch the silence. Just anything can stimulate, because he can penetrate that external distracting object and then find the silence behind it, because the mind is trained to see the awareness of that silence. So, in the moment of noticing silence around, when I am actually the silence, one pays attention to the silence or stillness of the objects, of the environment, of the sky, of the clouds, of the stars, of the moon, of anything which is really calming our mind. If that practice is done, then that will be helping us to go to touch our base, and that will not to think of anything, other thoughts will not come. Let us look at the tree, a flower, a plant, a mountain, and snow-capped range of Himalayas. We become still then within. And then ancient sages used to experience that silence, that peace. That's why they say, Dau Shanti, Antarikshang Shanti, Prithivi Shanti, Apa Shanti, Brahma Shanti, Vanaspataya Shanti. Everywhere Shanti. Peace on earth, peace in the heaven, peace in the waters, peace imbued amongst the herbs and plants. Everywhere within the universe it is peace, peace, peace. That is the stillness, that is the silence. They have touched that ground. That's why they are not disturbed. In any condition of life, anything comes in our life, how it makes us really, in instant moment, how it disturbs our all tranquility and peace. You are very in a peaceful mood. One person comes and uses certain words or certain information, your peace is disturbed instantly. So we are living in that environment, and we have practiced ourselves to identify quickly with the instant things whichever come, and we have never practiced to just separate out, okay, what is beyond. That's why that story of Janaka. Janaka is in this courthouse and discussing with the other monks and sages who have come about spirit, Atman or Brahman, and the palace was set in fire. And somebody came and informed that the palace is in fire. And he was very silent. And he said, Mithilayang pradagdhayang namedaishati kinchana. If the whole Mithila, the palace, the whole kingdom goes into fire, what is that to me? Is it detachment? Yes, it is detachment, but it is a great person of wisdom can be silent at that moment. We may think that Janaka is a dull-headed person, that's why he didn't go and immediately took action, hey, do this, do that, do that. But he is much more than that. He is a wise person who knows to keep in silence and peace. And external agitation, there are people to take care. I give an example. Once I came here, and in this occasionally fire starts in our parking lot on the bush side, And once I first came and I saw that there is some fire. And I ran and I went to Swami's room. Swamiji was resting. And then I said, Maharaj, there is fire. Then he turned towards me. I said, oh, and then turned back. I thought, what is this? Then afterwards I asked, Maharaj, I told, but you didn't respond anything, and you was watching television. I turned to the television again. But what shall I do being disturbed? There are people to take care of that. So I know they will take care. And when they will ask me to leave, I will leave. So it is just not for fun, but to understand the tranquility of the mind. As we get instant agitation, and but he has the stability in the mind that it is not, I am to do nothing, how I shall be disturbed now? If it is necessary, then and there are other responsible people, they are taking care of it. What shall I do now? That is the point. I'm seeing that, not that the fire will start and if it happens for me, I will do the same thing because I have not reached that state. But we should not do that. But for him it is okay because he have reached a state where he can keep that silence and stillness inside. And many people may have experienced that same going to him when he was even in that. You can feel the peace and silence there. So, looking and noticing the objects of the universe, being aware of the stillness outside, the trees, plants, mountain, etc., then we become gradually calmer, and we become still ourselves. We connect with the object very deeply, feel oneness with whatever we perceive in and through the stillness. Whenever mind becomes calm, we feel some identity with the objects of the universe. Normally when we are disturbed, we find separation. But when we are in calm mood, serene mood, look at that. You get up in the early morning, come out and look at the trees and plants, you feel some sort of identity, some sort of connection. Because the stillness is the prevailing there. And wherever there is stillness, there is calmness, there is serenity, and there is feeling of connection and connectedness. And that connectedness is the oneness, feeling of oneness. Feeling of oneness with all things, that is called the true love. And that oneness comes by being a practicing silence. So external solitude, as Sri Ramakrishna emphasized, is necessary at the beginning. We need to go get a glimpse of that silence and stillness by going to solitude. That is the time we find our own opportunity to look at the inner jumping of the monkey mind. We can work with that troubled mind and help to bring it in perfect stillness. The sages, every object in the nature is in silence, in peaceful mood, and as if absorbed in deep meditation. That is the Upanishad calling us. Look at the nature, how silent is this. Dhayoti va prithivi, as if the earth is meditating. Dhayanti va antariksham, the space, silence in the space, as if the space is meditating. Dhayoti va deva manusha, the gods and human, all are trying to be calm and serene and meditating. And you also do that. Then you only be a part of it. That is the call of the sages. And we are to join in the silence and stillness which is surrounding us. That is the reason why holy people spend much time in silence and in mountain caves. They select places. You see, all the people go to Himalayas to go to some caves, particularly why? To get that the touch of that silence in the caves and forests where there is less external disturbances. Now here comes, but it is, how can we be still and enjoy the stillness and discover silence in the very busy lives of our grinding life of our day-to-day? Is there any way? Yes, there we must have to find some time a day to touch the silence when nature outside is calmer, peaceful and still. That's why our gurus teach us to practice meditation in the morning, in the evening, in the midnight. Why? That is the time. So we must find when the environment is much more calmer. That's why everyday practice and touching the stillness and the calmness and serenity within, one should find a time which the nature is also cooperating more, the time. And we need to sit quietly and take advantage of that silence and pay attention to our inner thought and create gradually a no-thought zone. When we get an opportunity, even we come to the temple and sit for meditation, but external noise may be not disturbing here much, but internal noise is troubling and is not giving us to go to my own silence. That's why it is said to create a no-thought zone, that I'm sitting here, I will not think of other thoughts. And then we can go to another, it's called Ekotattva Abhas. We can go to practice one thought. We call one thought, as our gurus give us the mantra, or Vedantic meditation, I am that, or whatever, that think of one thought instead of multiple distracted thoughts, to put it into a category of one thought of, say, Rama, another thought of Rama, third thought of Rama, fourth thought of Rama. So if continuously it is one thought, that's why we are given the mantra and we are given the instruction to meditate upon the self, in the your Ishta chosen ideal's form. So from distracted thought to one thought, and that one thought is focusing on the one thought of Ishta, or practicing of the bringing the mind in one thought, that chitta vritti, so that the second thought is not dissimilar. That means it is the similar thought and helps us to slowly reach the goal of calmness, because it is multiple thought has been changed into one thought. It is called Ekotattva Abhas. Abhas, practice of one principle, one thought, so that it becomes minus all the distracted ideas. If we continue, the other thoughts will be less and less, and the gap between the thoughts will increase. One thought, and there is a silence. Now there is no silence. One thought, another thought, another thought, another thought. But when this practice is been made, that I will think of one thought only, God, 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 God. So one thought of God, another thought of God, there will be a gap will be created. Silence, moment of silence will be increased. And we will be able to touch the silence zone more and more. A time will come when that one vritti will ultimately collapse into the eternal silence and stillness, giving rise to the eternal joy and peace, which is called joy of samadhi. So, one vritti will come, akhanda akaro akara, chitta vritti hi udeti. There will, by this practice, when the distracted mind from diverse types of thoughts is gone, and then what will happen? One infinite wave of consciousness will arise, and that is called the akhanda. Akhanda means unbroken. Akhanda vritti will arise in the heart, and then when that will collapse, then the seer and the seen, the observer and the observed, all will collapse. That truth will remain, and that is the state of samadhi. The above practice is to be done in special situations and time when external nature helps us. But what steps can be taken when we are busy in an environment and very distracting? As John Donahue, in his book Anam Kara, a book of Celtic wisdom, writes, in modern life there is an immense rush to expression. Sometimes the quality of what is expressed is superficial and immensely repetitive. A great tolerance of silence is desirable. That silence which is the source of our most resonant language. As you begin to befriend your inner silence, one of the first things you will notice is that the superficial chatter on the surface level of your mind is gone. Once you recognize this, the silence will deepen. So this is the suggestion of another writer who is talking about to befriend our inner silence. Whenever there is a silence, how can I be friendly to that and welcome it to develop more silent mood in ourselves, rather than going to distraction to the silence. And it has practical means. Our Yoga Shastra says that it is called the Yogasya Prathamangandara Bhak Nirodha. Talk less. We talk too much. And too much talking means too much thoughts. Too much thoughts means too much jumping of the mind, howling of the mind. So actually that's why our lifestyle has become such that we don't hear anyone. We say, how are you? I say, I'm fine. But we cross each other. Maybe by that time we got 10 feet away. So that is so much fast. But Bhak Nirodha means to stop the chattering of the mind. That's why those people who speak less, their words are powerful. Those who actually can have control over their speech, they'd say, but I am speaking, is this meaningful? Is this needed? Is this good to anyone or good to me? These considerations, then many of the words may stop. And then it helps us in this way that I am not getting absorbed in meaningless ideas and thoughts. Rather, I can find some time to go to my own inner silence. We saw some of our Swamis. They are great spiritual personality. They are so calm. Madhavananda Swami and others, we saw them that they are engaged in reading books or editing something, and big question come before them, and he stops that work and listens to him for a moment without any excitement, without any anxieties, worries or anything, and then they just say what is to be done and finish. So detach. I have seen one time there is a big problem in our Belur Math, and there is some students' agitation. Wrongly, they have created little of their own, some naughty boys have created certain trouble, and they went to come to the president. See, the college was closed, and they came to President Maharaj. And that's President Maharaj at the evening time, there is no guard around, and I was near Swami Vivekananda's temple. And seeing that, I thought, oh my God, about 100 students are coming. If they get out President Maharaj's quarters, it will be a tremendous disturbance. So I was so upset. Then I ran to Bharat Maharaj. Bharat Maharaj was the manager of Maharaj, Swami Abhayananda. And then I went, and I was perspiring. And looking at me, he said calmly, what has happened? I said, Swami, this has happened. These 100 boys are coming and they are going to Gherao. That's the language of Gherao. Gherao means that they will make the Swami, encircle the Swami and not demand their whatever they want. Unless they sign, they will not get up. So this is one type of torture going on during that time of Naxal movement and communist movement. Anyhow, so these agitated boys are coming, they are almost come to Thakur's temple. And then I saw only this much distance to come to President Maharaj's quarter. So I said, okay. He told me, as a young monk then, he said, okay, come down. You go and ask that monk to come to me. That's all. And he started talking to other people. I was so worried. See the person who can keep silence in him. They do what is to be done. Actually, he did what is to be done. He employed the Swamis, he employed the police calling and doing everything he did. But totally detached in perfect silence and peace. And I did nothing, but I was so agitated and getting identified. This is the point. That's why the people who have really mastered that, kept that silence, they know they can work more. They can be more thoughtful. They can take steps, thinking 20 times, they take one step. But their penetrating eye develops and they can keep the inner peace in their heart. Doing all the things, they can detach themselves. So that was the idea that this that how to talk less, how to speak the right thing, watching what I am saying, observing. Mr. Eckhart said that there is nothing in the world that resembles God so much as silence. Silence is a great friend of the soul. It unveils the riches of solitude. What can solitude bring? That is the point, that it is the nearest proximity of God. It brings us close to what we call God. And being in life, being in busy circumstances, how we can practice this and make our life be a little more joyful. Witness idea of Vedantic teaching, the seer and the seen, observer and the observed. Who is in me observing? Who is getting involved into it? This idea of Vedanta can help us. Listening, seeing, feeling, understanding. Who is listening? Who is seeing? Who is getting involved? Who is troubled with the pain and suffering? Observing this, making us observer of this situation can make our mind still. Things are happening. It will happen. But how I can keep my peace? How I can be in my own silence? So these are another great ideal, to be observer of the emotions of our mind, and to go back to this idea that behind my every action there is something eternally calm and serene, Atman, that's consciousness, that absolute bliss, undisturbed thing, only the rambling of the mind, that is bringing, and that is being agitated by the informations from the senses of the outside. So this outside is only agitating the mind, and mind being agitated, I am not observing the silence what is within, and that is the eternal silence. Kene shitang preshitang patati manaha. By whose power our senses are getting agitated like that. If we can focus on that point, then we will have enough time to observe that one consciousness is permeating everywhere, and how I can stop my body-mind action, not to be too much identified with it, but to do what is to be done in life. So stillness is not to be created. The main point, stillness or silence is not to be created. It is there, only to catch that, to touch that silence. It's a good practice. Swami Sarvadevananda Maharaj used to say, touch meditation. It is like touch stillness, touch the silence. There is silence. Just looking at anything we can find, there is silence. Why I am not looking at that? Why I am getting agitated? Why there is so much peace? Why I am not in peace? To touch that peace, it's a awareness. And that is called, in another language, this peace or this silence can be said, it is the Atman. That same reality which is not disturbed, which is not polluted by the pollution of the objects of the universe, which is not disturbed by the disturbance of the universe. That eternal silence, eternal peace is all the time there. Therefore, this stillness, this Atman is everywhere, and it is our very nature. So it is not to be created, it is not to be brought by any technique, but it is to be aware of it. There is this silence, there is this peace. And I am to touch that, to observe that, to make a set up, prepare my mind to just feel that silence in all odd situations. A distracted mood, a disturbed mental condition, that also can sometimes give us a glimpse of truth. In our life we find that that is the day you are very much distressed, very much disturbed. But suddenly, seeing something in the nature, you become so calm and serene. I refer it 2-3 times before also, but that I know of one lady, she had lost her job and she has no other means to survive. And that day she was coming back and she was crossing the Golden Bridge in San Francisco and saw the full moon night reflected on the waters of that bay, area of water. She pulled the car outside and just was overwhelmed with the moon, its reflection, and sudden silence. There is no reason. But she was blessed that one touch of silence. If she forgot her loss of job, what will happen to her, what is waiting for her, where she will stay, all this wiped out from the mind. So it's a very important point that this touching the silence, the experiencing this silence may happen not in meditative mood, maybe in most disturbed mood. But if we are aware of that, it was really a great experience of that lady who told me, I am not mentioning the name, but that gave the total freedom from all anxieties and worries. Moments touching the silence, moments touching that stillness, seeing in the nature reflected everywhere. Why you are so disturbed? As if nobody taught him or her. Say, hey, why are you disturbed? It will go away, wait, Vedanta, nothing. But Vedanta spontaneously appeared. How? Looking at that environment and nature, the stillness, the calmness, the beauty, the serenity, the inner touch of divinity, that coincidence happened, and total anxiety-free moment came in the life, and total joy overpowered. So, though it may be momentary, so I am saying that in disturbed situation also, sometimes things may happen. But if we are aware of it, and if we can move with our consciously, then probably we will be able to do it much effectively. Buddha said, his thought is quiet. Quiet are his words and deed when he obtained freedom by true knowledge, when he has thus become a quiet man. So, thought is quiet. Quiet are his words and deed when he has obtained freedom by true knowledge, by observing this, by reaching that true knowledge, when he has thus become a quiet person. Christ said, when thou prayest, enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, pray to thy Father which is in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly. This is coming back to the silence. Close the door. Stop the disturbance outside. Go to that silence mode and see, open yourself. Be still and know that I am God. Just this song, in the Psalm 46. Be still. Entire message stands here. Be still. Why are you disturbed? As if the teachings are saying, you can practice this, to be still and quiet. But you are always identifying with all these things of the world. Not that we will not be in the world, but identifying and attaching there, finding all types of troubles for yourself. Why not be silent and observe that which is not changing? That peace is reigning in every place and everywhere. Connect yourself. Swami Vivekananda, in the Master, as I saw him, Nivedita said, quoting Swami Vivekananda, silence all ye teachers of the world, and silence ye prophets. Speak thou alone, O Lord, unto my soul. This is the silence, perfect silence. There is no talk. Talk is disturbance. I am talking, it is a disturbance. Silence is a much higher state. Talking, there Swami Vivekananda said, that's why. That those who speak about God, they are lower category of teachers. Those who live that life in silence, even in the deepest cave of Himalayas, they are sitting somewhere. Their contribution is greatest contribution. They speak in silence. And the thought waves penetrate the rocks and mountains and helps people to uplift from their level to the divine level. That's best story is that the teacher, one student went to a teacher and asked that, sir, I want to know about Brahman, please teach me. And the teacher kept silent. And long time passed. Then again the student was little disturbed, said, I want to learn about Brahman, Atman, please kindly tell me, sir. Then he said, oh, he didn't say anything. Teacher again remained silent. And third time the student asked, sir, I beg you, please teach me what is Brahman like. And the teacher then ultimately said, my child, I was teaching you so long what is Brahman like, but you didn't understand. That is the silence. So if we practice this silence in the hustle and bustle of our life every day, when I'm deeply disturbed or very strongly agitated, if we can train our mind for a moment on this thought that, okay, look at the nature, look at the tree, how calm, look at the leaves, they are not moving. See the shining flower or the cloud in the sky. Look at the whatever you see. So calm. Why am I so agitated? So this is the way to touch that silence, and that silence will bring that internal connection with the divine, not internal connection, that will connect with the external. And that is the connection of the Atman with Brahman. Atman, Jiva, Jagat, Brahman. Brahman, the absolute reality. Jiva, I am. And Jagat, this universe. They will all tuned into one consciousness. And that is, we call Brahman, Atman. We can call silent and silence and peace. Thank you. Om Pratar Namami Tamasha Paramarka Varnang Purnang Sanatana Padang Purushottamakyam Jasmin Nidang Jagadasesham Asheshamurto Rajwang Bhujangamivo Pratibhasitang Vai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. At dawn I bow down to him who is effulgent like the sun, and beyond all darkness, the infinite and eternal being known as Purushottama, in whose infinite form this manifold universe appears like a snake superimposed on a rope. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto us all.